Did you know that following her execution in 1587, it took nearly 6 months for Mary, Queen of Scots to be buried? Mary, Queen of Scots was executed at Fotheringhay Castle on the 8th of February 1587. She had been found guilty of treason against her cousin Elizabeth I. Mary had wished to be laid to rest in France next to her first husband, Francois II, King of France. But this wasn't to be. Elizabeth I was not going to grant her that wish. So following her beheading, her body was removed. It was then embalmed. It is said that her entrails, so her innards, were taken out of her body and secretly buried within the grounds of the castle. She was then laid to rest within a lead coffin, where she remained for the next 6 months. The reason for this great delay and for denying Mary her funeral was because Elizabeth I was worried about what Scotland was going to do. Elizabeth had just executed a Queen of Scotland, and so she was worried about how James, that's Mary, Queen of Scots' son, was going to react. Some of Queen Mary's supporters were calling out for war against England and against Elizabeth. As well as this, the Catholic faction who had supported Queen Mary were probably out for Elizabeth's blood at this time. And as a result, poor Mary's body just languished for nearly 6 months at Fotheringhay Castle. However, eventually Elizabeth realised that James wasn't going to retaliate. Although he'd ordered his court in Scotland to go into mourning, he wasn't after revenge. And so, as a result, it was decided that Mary would be buried at Peterborough Cathedral. Interestingly, this was also the burial place of Henry VIII's first wife, Catherine of Aragon. And so Mary's body was taken in a great procession from Fotheringhay Castle to Peterborough Cathedral. And she was buried here in this tomb. And in the burial register at Peterborough Cathedral it says this: "The Queen of Scots was most sumptuously buried in Ye Cathedral Church of Peterborough the 1st day of August 1587, who was beheaded at Fotheringhay Castle the 8th of February before." Although Elizabeth ensured that Mary was given a very grand funeral, Mary would have absolutely hated it because she was a devout Catholic and she was given a Protestant burial. However, this was not to be Mary's final resting place. 25 years later, when her son, James VI of Scotland and James I of England, was now king, he decided to exhume his mother's body and bring it to Westminster Abbey in London. Although James had done absolutely nothing to help his mother while she had been alive, he clearly felt the need to commemorate her in death. And as a result, he commissioned this very elaborate marble tomb to be erected in Westminster Abbey. At the centre of this tomb is a very beautiful effigy of the Queen with her hands clasped in prayer. And here is that tomb, and up there is an inscription detailing all of Mary's accomplishments and achievements. What is particularly amazing is, as well as commissioning this fantastic monument, James had also commissioned a monument for Elizabeth I. And so these two queens, Elizabeth and Mary, who had been rivals in life, now rest in opposite aisles in the Henry VII Chapel. So if you're ever in London, you must go and see it because there's just so much history in such a small space.